Hey, fabulous people. Okay, so I said I was going to do a show and explain my position on Al-Franken, Joe Barton, George H.W. Bush, and obviously the imposter in the White House and Roy Moore. So let me just get into it real quickly. Joe Barton is basically being accused of sending naked pictures and a video of himself masturbating to a woman that he previously had a relationship with. They had like 2 sexual encounters. He basically flew her in from Texas to Washington, D.C. I don't know if he used government money. That might need to be investigated. It's alleged also that he had threatened her with the Capitol Police about those videos, etc. And basically that should probably be investigated as well, just to determine why is he threatening her with Capitol Police when it seems like it would be a state issue. But nevertheless, or maybe he's saying it's federal because, she flew across state lines, but she released the evidence, believe from Texas. But anyway, when I first heard the story, I thought it might have been revenge porn because revenge porn is illegal in Texas. And the problem is that if she had released it and it was like intimate stuff something that was basically solicited by him while they're having an intimate relationship, that would be revenge porn. And in Texas, that's criminal. She would have been in a lot of trouble. But nevertheless, a story came out in Washington Post that said that basically that she had told him she did not want him to send that stuff to her, and she told him not to send it, and he'd send it anyway. Seems like that wasn't solicited. It doesn't seem like he had a right to privacy with that kind of stuff. So it seems to me like that might have been sexual harassment. But nevertheless, even with all the allegations, including that he might have been actually cheating on his wife, because he claims he wasn't, even though he apologized, but the dates just seem like he was maybe cheating on his wife before they were separated. But nevertheless, that's none of my business. I think that it's no one's business at this point. I don't think there's anything there that rises to the level of asking him to resign. I think it's ludicrous that anyone's asking him to resign. Like, come on, people, did you really think this guy, even though it's absolutely atrocious that he actually sent out nudes and stuff, it was just so devastating. But nevertheless, it was none of our business. And I think we need to move on from that, and I think we need to let go of it. If he should be investigated just to determine whether or not he violated any ethical rules or whether or not he violated the law in any way, but that's pretty much the end of that. Now, Al-Franken. I think that Al-Franken, his first accuser, I've already said it before, I do not believe her for 1 second, not even one. I'm 100% confident that I don't believe her. But I'm not 100% confident that it didn't happen, so I decided not to write an article about her. I also didn't want to victimize her too, but nevertheless, I also thought about if after the fact that if I wrote this and then, what if a video came out and it said, he really did do all this stuff and you see him doing it or something like that. That's pretty slim chance that happens. But nevertheless, if it did, I would feel terrible about it. But also don't even want to engage in anything that could be perceived as victimizing somebody or whatever. So nevertheless, I decided against it, but I don't believe her, and that is my position, and I still maintain that. The second accuser, the story just doesn't seem very credible. She claims that she was at the Minnesota State Fair with her husband. Her husband was taking a picture of her and Al-Franken. Al-Franken's grabbing her ass while her husband's taking the picture. She doesn't necessarily do anything, which is just kind of like, okay, really? So you're going to let him grab your ass with your husband right there? Like, Al-Franken must have been the most brazen bastard to go and grab a woman's ass right in front of her husband. But nevertheless, that story just doesn't seem very credible to me. I just can't imagine him doing that, so I just don't believe it. And then the last 2 accusers, basically, they're anonymous. And the problem with them being anonymous is that if this was a court of law or if it's a criminal case or something, there's something called the Confrontation Clause, which is in the 6th Amendment, which allows you to be able to confront your accusers. And he doesn't even know who his accusers are. And some people say to me, does it even matter? All he has to say if he didn't do it is I never would grab a woman's ass. I would never do that. That's not something I would do. Nevertheless, my position is that when you have other accusations, you can no longer just say, I didn't do that. You have to be able to give more than that. You need more substantiation. So part of what he would have to do would have to be something like, let's just say presumably, if he knew who they were, then he could say, oh, that's my friend Jan. She's been trying to go out with me for 50 years. I've turned her down for all these years. I don't know why she's so bitter. I wish she would stop or whatever. I don't think Al-Franken would ever do that because he's too respectful of a person. But nevertheless, I think that or it could have been something like, I've never met this person. I don't even know who this is. I've never seen this person before. Who is this? You know what I mean? So you never get an opportunity to confront those individuals, or you might have discrepancies, or you might have evidence that proves that this person is not telling the truth, but you can't confront them if you don't know who they are. So I have a hard time saying that allegations against him, those allegations are credible or not credible, because I don't really have enough to substantiate it. So nevertheless, even if everything he was accused of, I said before that if I heard more accusations, I wouldn't defend him. I'm not defending him. I'm just telling you exactly how I view everything that I've seen thus far. Even if everything were true, I don't think that it's that big of a deal. I think it's not right. I think it's wrong. I think he should be investigated just to make sure that it wasn't sexual assault or rape or anything that was, or he used his office to take advantage of women or anything like that. If not, then I think he should be reprimanded for, just your conduct. You can't just be grabbing women's asses and stuff like it. You can't just do that. But I'm appalled by the fact that people are trying to lump him and even someone like Joe Barton, who I could care less about as a Republican, but I understand that this is just ridiculous. Lump them in with the imposter in the White House and then the alleged pedophile in Alabama. The thing is, let me just tell you something right now. They're not the same. Not every allegation is the same. Not every allegation is equal. When you were asking for Roy Moore to resign from the race, withdraw from the race, no longer be a candidate, you're basically saying do not be a senator. And then now you're asking Al-Franken to resign. So you're saying do not be a senator. And then you're asking Joe Barton resign. You're saying do not be a congressman. So you're basically saying, and you're saying Donald Trump, you should also resign too. So you're saying all of you guys deserve the same punishment, which is just absolutely ludicrous. They don't. So the thing is, you have to come up with a much better punishment, obviously, for Roy Moore and Donald Trump if you're going to say that Al-Franken should resign. And the thing is, unfortunately, the things that they're accused of, they're statute of limitations issues. But the reality is they're accused of things that likely a prosecutor would take if there weren't statute of limitation issues. Al-Franken and Joe Barton are not accused of things that a prosecutor would take. And even if those people wanted to bring those charges, it would likely go to a lower court anyway, because no prosecutor would probably take those cases. He grabbed my butt. He grabbed my butt. He grabbed my butt. The prosecutor would probably pass out. Like, are you serious? I have murders. Okay, I have women who've been raped. I have women who've been sexually assaulted, literally, legitimately, not this minor assault. I'm talking about women who have literally been sexually assaulted. The person may not have penetrated, but they ripped their clothes off. They did all this stuff. Those are the things that a prosecutor is going to be thinking in their head when someone brings those kind of claims. So I doubt any prosecutor would ever take that case. So therefore, I don't think that they meet the same standard as Donald Trump or Roy Moore, and that's my position on that. And also, George H.W. Bush. He has the same accusations as Al-Franken. This guy is 93 years old, in a wheelchair, and is senile. I don't understand how people even care anymore. Like, you're still upset with George W. Bush because he grabbed your ass 10 years ago. I'm sorry, you got to get over it. The guy's doesn't even know what yesterday happened at all. I don't even know if he knows his name is George H.W. Bush. I'm not sure he even knows that. Okay? So this is not an issue that we should be focusing on. Yes, he's been exposed for doing things that probably weren't appropriate. If something comes out that he committed a crime, just like Al-Franken or Joe Barton, then you're done. You're done. Al-Franken, you're in the same league with Donald Trump and and Roy Moore. If it comes out that you committed a crime, if you sexually assaulted a woman, where the kind of stuff that they're saying that these guys did, or even raped a young woman, or attempted rape, allegedly, at least. These things are allegedly, obviously. We have to say allegedly because it's just only prudent. So that's my position on these things. I feel like some of the stuff is being blown out of proportion. I think some of these things are just not true. I think even if some of these allegations are true, they just don't rise to the same level of outrage that you would have for Donald Trump or for Roy Moore. And I think that people need to kind of tone down all this, accusation equals guilt. And I think that that's just inappropriate. I think that people need to stop doing that. There has to be some kind of standard and a threshold where somebody crosses, and then you can say, okay, this person has crossed the line, and then this person should be treated this way. But I don't think you should lump everybody into the same category, and I don't think that these accusations are really that serious compared to the kind of things that we've heard from people like Charlie Rose and Weinstein and Kevin Spacey. When you hear those kind of allegations, you realize that it's not cool to kind of trivialize things. And I'm not saying that it's appropriate to touch people when you're not allowed to just invade someone's personal space. You're not allowed to just touch somebody. But I'm saying, did he take their clothes off too? Did he try to rape them? Was he forcing himself sexually on them? Those are the kind of things that I think, was he trying to use his influence as a senator to kind of dominate them into having sex with them or do something like that? Those are the kind of things that I feel like should cause somebody to resign. And nothing I've heard yet says any of that. So that's my position on all three. None of them right now deserve the kind of outrage that they're getting right now. And also let the investigation take its course, and we'll see where it goes. And if more allegations come out, then I'll reassess at that time. But at this particular point, I don't think any of them deserve the condemnation they're getting.